Neblett with 4 Points Family Chiropractic. Welcome to our monthly Living to 100 webinar series. Each month we bring you important information, tips and strategies on a variety of different health topics so we can help you and your family live your healthiest lives. Okay, this month we're going to discuss the important health benefits your children can experience from chiropractic care. If you're not familiar with us, our office is located in Northwest Austin, just off of Ranch Road 2222 at the entrance to the River Place neighborhood. Or you can also find out more about us if you go to www.fourpointschiropractic.com. That 4 is spelled out F-O-U-R. Now, common questions were asked by our patients when it comes to their kids is, number one, why would my child need to see a chiropractor? And the second question is it safe for my child to see a chiropractor? These are great questions. And I want to address both of those questions, both from the perspective of a chiropractor who takes care of children, but also as a father whose kids have been under chiropractic care from the time they were born. All right? So in order to answer the why question, the first thing is having a clear understanding of how our bodies work. Our bodies and everything that happens in our bodies, including every muscle, every tissue, and every organ, how they function, are controlled and coordinated by the central nervous system. By the central nervous system, I'm referring to the brain and the spinal cord, all right? There's an intimate relationship with the spinal cord and brain and with the spine, all right? Now, there's a constant flow of communication that travels from the brain down the spinal cord and out the nerves that come out between the vertebrae, and then these nerves go to every muscle, tissue, and organ in our brain, in our body, all right? In order for our bodies to function the way we're intended to function, our nervous system has to operate at the highest level possible. Research has proven that when we develop misalignments in the vertebra in our spine, called subluxations, they put pressure on the nerves where they exit, and that disrupts that communication between the brain and the body, and that results in our body's function being adversely affected. There was a study performed by Dr. Chung-Ha Su, who's a PhD in the biomechanics department at Colorado University, University of Colorado. He concluded in his study that pressure applied to one of these spinal nerves, the equivalent of the weight of a dime, that's all it takes, diminish the nerve's ability to transmit signals along the nerve by between 40 and 60%. That's huge. All right? So here's the point. What if the nerve that's being pressed on is the nerve that goes to your stomach? How do you think your stomach's going to function after that? What if it's the nerves that go to your brain? What if the nerves that go to your heart? What if the nerves that go to your bowel? The point is, if that nerve function is diminished by 60%, it's going to have a significant adverse effect on those organs. Make sense? Now, when our kids are born, they go through tremendous amounts of growth and changes in relatively short amounts of time, right? All that growth and development is controlled and directed by the brain and nervous system. Okay, so does it make sense that optimal nerve system function is critical to ensure that our kids grow and develop in the healthiest manner as possible? Another thing is that during our childhood and adolescence years, our kids are usually extremely active, right? They're often involved in many traumas that can range from falls to sports injuries to just general accidents. And this is where many of us develop subluxations that, if not caught and corrected, not only impact what's happening during the growth and development of our children during their childhood years, but it can impact your children for the rest of their lives. All right? There are published studies out there that have investigated the frequency and effects of spinal trauma caused by the birth process. The findings of these studies were that between 80 and 90% of us experienced spinal trauma during the birth process that resulted in our first subluxation. 80 to 90% of us, all right? Early detection and correction of these subluxations allows your child a better start toward a healthier life. When subluxations go uncorrected, your child's ability to function optimally is compromised and can result in a whole variety of problems that I'm going to talk more about in just a moment. So hopefully this gives you some clarity on why it's important to have your child checked by a chiropractor for spinal injuries like subluxation, and in present to have those problems corrected as early as possible. That's absolutely critical in order for your children to grow up in the healthiest manner that they can. So if you know that you'd like to have your child check for subluxation, we've got a special offer for you. Anyone who calls our office at 512-345-9355 and asks for the Healthy Child Discounted Exam, we'll schedule that for you. That'll include a very thorough history, an examination, any x-rays necessary depending on the age of the child, as well as a follow-up appointment where we'll review those results with you. Those services normally are $348 in this office. We'll offer that for only $97 if you call our office and again mention this webinar. So here's another question our patients ask us. How do we know if our child might have a subluxation? Well, a couple things to understand. During the process of labor and delivery, there is stretching and compression of the spinal cord and brainstem as your child progresses through the birth canal, which can and very commonly do cause subluxation. This is even true for children that go through a C-section birth. Now, if the birth happens to be a long birth or a difficult birth, and especially if forceps or vacuum extraction are used during the birth process, there's a very high likelihood of an injury to the cervical spine and the neck of the child. These children need to be checked as soon as possible following birth to detect subluxation and to correct it if it's found. Now, spinal injuries like subluxations, when they show up in children, they can cause some symptoms that are visible, all right, physical symptoms. You can see symptoms like the head being tilted or rotated on your child to one side and not seeming to budge. That's a condition called torticollis. Sometimes you'll see one shoulder that's lower than the other shoulder, or maybe winging or protruding of the scapula that sticks out from the body. There may be difficulty crawling. You may see weakness in an arm or a leg, or maybe you'll notice abnormal posture patterns developing as a child gets a little bit older, especially head forward posture, which we've talked about in previous webinars. Of course, your child could complain of pain in their neck and their back or in different extremities. These are all possible signs and symptoms of subluxation. Or sometimes the symptoms show up in ways that you might not suspect subluxation, but that we see on a regular basis in our office. They can be symptoms like colic or sleep problems. You may see your kids develop frequent or persistent colds or ear infections. This can be the result of the lowered immune function caused by subluxation, because the nervous system also controls your child's immune system. You may also see problems like constipation, skin rashes, allergies, asthma, clumsiness, focus or learning disabilities, inconsolable crying episodes, lethargy, which is just general malaise where your child just seems to not ever have any energy, or it can show up as hyperactivity. Because subluxations cause compromised nerve function, the signs of subluxation can vary greatly from child to child, depending on which part of the body is affected by the involved nerve or nerves. What I want you to know is, the good news is that if subluxation is detected as the cause of the sign or symptom you're concerned about, then chiropractic can usually help. All those symptoms I just mentioned, we see in this office and have seen a number of times, and most of the kids that we have been able to work with these symptoms have improved dramatically or even seen their symptoms completely resolved as we've been able to correct the subluxations. So that's why it's so important to get this checked to clear these things up as early as possible. So what's the best age to get your child checked by a chiropractor? Another question that our patients ask us. The easy answer, the younger the better. All right, the earlier subluxation is detected and corrected, the sooner your child can begin to heal, which will help your child to grow up as healthy as possible. Having your child checked as soon as possible following their birth, especially if the birth was difficult, is extremely important. All right, chiropractic care during pregnancy is also important, not only for mom's health and for mom's level of comfort, particularly as the pregnancy progresses, but also to improve pelvic function and increase the odds of a healthy delivery. I just want to tell you that I've had two children since I started chiropractic school. Both of my children had their first adjustments during their first year of health. During their first week following their birth. Also, the mother of my children was adjusted throughout her pregnancy to make sure that she was kept comfortable and her delivery went as smoothly as possible. We had both of our children at home. Incredible, beautiful days. The deliveries went wonderfully. My children have been healthy their entire lives because they've continued to be adjusted. They're now 25, and my older ones will be 27 in about a week. So I can vouch from my own experience with chiropractic with my children, the benefits that it afforded them. There are some important milestones you need to pay attention to. These are, number one, when the baby begins to lift their head up, when your baby begins to sit up, starts to crawl, begins to stand, starts to walk. These are all very important times and when changes are happening in your child's spine, and it's important to have your child checked at these instances. Later on, as your child begins to develop social contacts, start school, during their growth spurts, when they begin to experience falls or injuries due to sports or school activities, these are all reasons to have your children regularly checked so that those can be caught early and any problems corrected. Early detection and correction of subluxations during these times helps your child develop more optimally, improves immune system function, and can also help to deter joint breakdown that can lead to arthritis later on in life. So if you want to take advantage of the special offer I mentioned before for you or your child, and want to get checked at a discounted rate, call our office, 512-345-9355. Mention this webinar, and we'll schedule your initial exam and x-rays, consultation, and a follow-up appointment to review those for just $97. All right, before I finish up today, there's one more thing I want to talk about, and that is the safety of chiropractic care for children. I understand that's a concern for some people. And what I want to tell you, if you've watched any of the goofy videos on YouTube, adjusting a child is nothing like that, all right? When we adjust infants, the pressure used for an infant's adjustment is about the equivalent of the way you check for ripeness with a tomato. It's a very, very gentle adjustment. And that goes for children as well. They're adjusted differently from adults. We've adjusted hundreds of children in this office. Most of them find it to be a very fun experience. And again, it helps your children to develop optimally, helps the nervous system develop optimally, and that has all kinds of health benefits when that's the case. One of the things to think about is that the amount of force used to correct a subluxation in a child is a tiny fraction of the amount of force that was used to deliver your child if your child was born in a hospital setting. Estimates are that as much as 90 pounds of pressure can be used to pull the child's head and shoulders through the birth canal to start the whole birth process, particularly if there's any difficulty there. Could you imagine tying a 90-pound weight onto your child's head and holding it upside down after your child's born? Obviously, you'd go to jail for child abuse. So that's just something to think about, that the amount of force necessary to correct subluxation is tiny compared to that. And the result of correcting a subluxation is better communication between the brain and body. And what this does, it helps to restore the life force that's present in everybody's body. Helps that life force to better flow through your child, improve communication throughout your body, and especially to the affected area. That leads to healing for that child. Many of our patients have adopted the idea of chiropractic care for themselves to improve their own health. For any of you who have not yet extended that to your family, I want to encourage you to take advantage of the special offer that we have today to get your children checked. All right, all you need to do is call our office at 512-345-9355, mention the Healthy Child exam special, schedule an exam for you or your children, and you'll have the examination, any necessary x-rays, that follow-up appointment, and it'll only cost $97 to get that done. And what you're doing is you're giving your child the gift of a healthier future beginning today. All right, that's it for this month. I want to thank everyone who joined us today. Next month, Dr. Mary will be bringing a very powerful webinar sharing simple, effective strategies for handling stress in your life and to improve overall mental health. If you'd like to learn more about healthy living, if you go to our website, www.fourpointschiropractic.com, click on the New Patient Center tab, and from the drop-down menu, choose Watch a Workshop. We have a library of dozens, probably 30 or 40 different webinars and workshops in there on all kinds of different topics. We encourage you to take advantage of that. It's there for you at no charge. All right. So till next month, this is Dr. Tom Neblett on behalf of the doctors and staff at 4 Points Family Chiropractic, where we want to show you a better way to better health. Bye for now.